Greetings to everyone. My name is Frank Konyn, and today you are visiting the Frank Konyn Dairy. This is the last dairy left in San Diego County. This dairy was started by my parents in 1962, so we've been here 60 years on this land. This is in the middle of the San Pasqual Valley. For those of you that don't know where the San Pasqual Valley is, we're located between Escondido and Ramona. We're directly south of the San Diego Safari Park, or we have the lions and the monkeys and the giraffes and the elephants right across the street. And this entire valley is an agricultural preserve owned by the city of San Diego. So I am on land that I lease from the city of San Diego. We'll start off, as you can see, I'm standing next to some of my girls over here. These are Holstein cows. All the black and whites are a Holstein breed. We also have a few animals. I got one down the line over there. We got a few animals that are going to be just all brown. Those are Jerseys. I have a few animals on the place that are going to be, instead of black and white, they're going to be red and white. And so those are going to be called red and white Holsteins. And the reason that we have these different varieties were primarily, I guess I should back up and say my father started in this location in 1962. So we are here 60 years on this location, and we've always been a Holstein dairy, the black and white animals. But my wife was a high school ag instructor, and being a high school ag instructor, when our kids were born, she wanted to be really involved with them in showing animals. And so I have children that show animals. You've probably seen on television people doing dog shows. My kids go to cow shows. And that's part of the reason why we have some of the red and white, some of the Jerseys. As we get up on another side of the dairy, you'll see some of our club calves or our real fancy show beef animals. And that's what my kids do. They travel around going to different fairs, showing animals. A baby calf, when a baby calf is born, within about 30 or 45 minutes after that animal is born, it's already walking. But also when a baby calf is born, on the light side, they'll probably be 80 pounds. On the heavy side, they might be 110 pounds. And so you can see that it wouldn't be unusual for an animal that's 10 months of age to already be 900 pounds. By the time a cow is 2 years of age, that animal is almost a fully grown adult. And as a fully grown adult cow, they'll probably weigh in a little bit over 3/4 of a ton, a little bit less than 1 ton, somewhere around anywhere from 1,550 to 1,800 pounds is what a fully grown cow weighs. All the cows on this dairy, as I mentioned, this group of animals right here is in that 9 to 10 month age range. All the animals on this dairy are grouped into different groups. And they are grouped by their age, if they're younger or older. They are grouped by their production level, if they are high producing cows or low producing cows in how much milk they produce. And they are going to be grouped whether they are pregnant or non-pregnant animals. Every one of those combinations of different groups, including their age, their production, and their status of pregnancy, every one of those groups has different dietary nutritional requirements. We have a nutritionist on staff, and we're always formulating and tweaking the rations just a little bit to optimize the performance of our animals. We'll often say that our dairy cows, we consider them our Olympic athletes, and we have them on a strict diet, and we keep that diet exactly the same every day so that we can maximize their production, because there are Olympic athletes producing at their peak performance. Now the young stock, what we're standing by right now, the young stock, because they're not producing milk, they're only growing, I can have a little bit more flexibility in their diet. And we're going to go around today and we're going to look at the commodities area, or our kitchen, where we mix up all the feed for the cows. So in our kitchen area, we have a big green tractor that pulls a red mixer wagon. And that red mixer wagon has what looks like 2 Christmas trees inside. And those Christmas trees are big augers with knives on them. And they chop up all the food. I want to mix this food. When I mix this food, I want to make it all the same, kind of like baby food, because I don't want the animals picking and choosing what they want. For an example, if you had chocolate cake and Brussels sprouts on your plate, you might eat all the chocolate cake and leave the Brussels sprouts. But we know that the Brussels sprouts are where you get some of your vitamins and your energy for growth, and not so much from the chocolate cake. And so that's important that you have that balanced food, that balanced ration. And it's the same thing here with the cows. We have that balanced ration. And in this balanced ration for this group, we have some straw, we have a little bit of alfalfa, we have a little bit of almond hulls, we have a little bit about bakery, and I got some lemons in there. So you heard the word bakery, you heard the word lemon, that little bit of green right there that you see, that's even some cucumber. So where does the lemons, the cucumber, the bakery, where do those products come from? Those are byproducts that we pick up locally here in San Diego County. And those are products that would, if we didn't have the cows to feed them to the cows, those are products that would end up in the landfill or the dump. And if you think about it, when we take stuff to the landfill, to the dump, we are putting stuff in a hole, covering it up, and piling things higher and higher. Yet over here at the Frank Konyn Dairy, when we go out to 19 companies that make beer, and we pick up the spent beer grains. We go to 13 bakeries, bread factories, tortilla places, and pick up the spent products or the products that have a short shelf life that are real close to expiration. We also go to 5 fruit juice manufacturers that will take the cucumbers or the lemons and squeeze them to get the juice out, but that leftover pulp, after you've squeezed juice out of a carrot or squeezed juice out of lettuce and kale, it doesn't taste good anymore. But we still can feed it to the cows. The cows are growing up, and the cows are going to turn around and produce milk. So instead of something going into a landfill and piling up in the landfill, we can feed it to the cows, and the cows can convert it back into dairy products. And that milk goes into yogurt and ice cream and chocolate milk and butter and cheese and cottage cheese and all your other great dairy products. And so cows are transforming a byproduct or a waste product back into a human food. People might say, well, that's great, but cows are pooping on the other end, and what happens to the cow poop? And so later on in this video, we'll take you down to our compost site. And Dr. K will be able to explain everything that happens at our compost site, where we can take that cow manure and we can compost it with greens waste, landscape trimmings, and create soil building products and moisture retention products for farmers, ranchers, landscapers, backyard gardeners, you name it. This right here, this is our calf nursery where we raise our baby calves. Calves will be on milk for about 70 days out of their life, their first 70 days. And if you'll notice in here, each calf has its own crib. In the same way when human beings are born, human beings live in a crib probably for their first year of their life. It's not till they're about a year old that they start walking. As we mentioned, these baby calves, they start walking very young, but they're still susceptible to predator animals. We have coyotes around here, and so one of the nice things is by having the protection from predatory animals. But another nice thing is when a mother has a newborn child, she's writing down how many ounces of milk did that calf drink, did that human baby drink at the first feeding that day, and how many ounces the next day, and you keep track of that. And in the same way, we keep track with our animals. When we feed them, we know how much milk they drank, we know how much water they drank, we know when they start eating grain. And in the same way with human babies, when you change their diaper, you know, uh-oh, baby's got an upset stomach, left kind of a mess in the diaper. We can look in each one of the cribs of the animals, or each one of these little corrals that these animals are in, and we can see when they have diarrhea or an upset stomach, and we can give them that necessary treatment to help them get over that. Okay, so this is our milking parlor where we're milking the cows. We're milking the cows twice a day. There's 8 cows on this side and 8 cows on this side, so we're milking 16 cows at one time. First thing that happens is cows are going to come into the very back, and they're going to go through kind of a community shower. They're going to take a shower together. And then from there, they're going to drip dry, and they're going to come into the actual milking parlor. But right here, you'll see that the cow is milking. There's 4 teat cups, 1 on each teat. At any one given moment, when you're hand milking a cow, it's a milk rest. And so mechanically, we're achieving the same thing with this pulsator hose. That pulsator hose is alternating the vacuum from one side to the other, so that at any moment, only 2 of the teats are being milked and the other teats are in a rest phase. From there, the milk is going through the sensor. The sensor will tell when the cow is done being milked, and it will tell the machine, the unit, to take the machine off the cow so that we're not over milking the cow. And from there, the milk goes into the milk line where it'll get transported over to the milk tank. So when the cow comes into the milking parlor to be milked, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to spray her teats with an iodine to disinfect the teats. And I'm going to take some squirts of milk from each of her teats right here. And at the same time, I'm disinfecting the teats. And by taking those squirts of milk, I'm stimulating the cow so that her pituitary gland is going to release a hormone, and it's going to travel through her bloodstream, and that will go down to her udder, so she will know that it's time to start letting down her milk. And so I will spray this on, and then I will let that iodine sit on that cow's teat for about a minute so that it has time to kill any potential bacteria that might be on the cow's teat. Iodine has been on there for a minute. I grab some white paper towels, and I'm going to make sure that the cow's teats are clean and dry. And then we're going to go ahead and attach the machine. And you can see the milk already starting to flow through the sensor. So when we're done milking the cows, we're going to dip the cow's teats. Once again, this is an iodine, so it's a disinfect. While that teat opening remains open just a little bit as the cow walks back to her corral, this iodine acts as a barrier, and there's also glycerin in there. Glycerin would be like hand cream to keep the teats soft so they don't become dried and cracked. So after the milk leaves the cows, the milk is going to come through these cylinders. There's one for the parlor that we were just in, and there's one for the other parlor. So the milk goes inside these cylinders are filters. So if the machine dropped on the ground and sucked up something you didn't want to see floating in your morning cereal, these filters are going to grab this. This is not a bacteriological cure. That happens at the processing plant where they'll pasteurize the milk, where they'll heat the milk up to 170 degrees for 30 seconds to kill off any bacteria that might be in the milk to make sure that that milk is safe for humans. The other thing, if you were here on a tour, you would feel this pipe right here. This is the warm milk, and it goes through a heat exchanger, and then this is the cold milk. On this side is the cow's body temperature, 101.5. So cows are a little bit warmer than you and I. And over here, we have the milk at 35 degrees because we know that bacteria doubles every 20 minutes. And so the faster I can get the milk from 101 degrees to 35 degrees, the higher quality milk that I'm going to have. This milk tank right here is a 5,000 gallon milk tank, and we're producing about 7,000 gallons per day. So the milk truck comes to this dairy twice a day to pick up milk. So this is our feed mixing area, or our giant kitchen, or our restaurant area where we prepare the food for all the different groups of cows. In these 2 pits right here is where we bring in our brewery grain from the breweries. Breweries will ferment barley to make beer, and that leftover fermented grain still is full of proteins and has a feed value for the cows. This is dried distiller's grains. originally got its name for when they made whiskeys and bourbons, that grain that was left over from making the whiskey and bourbon. However, more popular today, you may hear about ethanol, when they ferment corn to make ethanol, and the ethanol is blended in with gasoline to make cars travel farther on a gallon of gas. And so when they ferment the corn and extract the ethanol, that remaining product is another byproduct, and it's still a very high protein, high energy feed that we can feed to the cows. This is canola. After they've extracted the oils from the canola plant for making cooking oils, that leftover plant and that pulp, it's dried and pelletized, and once again, another protein feed for our dairy cattle. This is mill run. This is the ground up wheat shaft after they've made your hamburger buns and hot dog buns up in Los Angeles at the General Mills plant. And then that leftover mill run we can feed to our dairy cows, and it's a source of fiber and energy for them. This is rolled corn. We know as humans, we eat corn on the cob, and a certain amount of that corn passes through our system not fully digested. But when I'm spending so much money feeding the cows, I want to make sure that everything is digested. And so this corn has been steamed and run through rollers to flatten it out and spread it open so that when it's digested by the cow, the enzymes and the bugs in the cow's stomach can break down and get all the nutrients for the energy and the protein values that are found in this corn. This is cottonseed. After they've harvested the cotton plant and made your cotton shirts and your cotton clothes, at the center of the cotton plant, or the center of that cotton, that ball of cotton flour, is a seed. And inside that seed are still oils. And so the combination of the seed, the hairy fuzziness on the seed makes a fiber source for the cows, and the oils inside that seed create an energy source for the cows. This is our alfalfa hay. We have several different types of alfalfa hay. All of our alfalfa hay is tested before it's purchased. We'll take a core sample of the bales, we'll overnight it to the lab, and then we get results that talk about the protein, the digestible fiber, the undigestible fiber, the carbohydrates and sugar levels. And with that, we can decide which hay is going to be fed to high-producing cows and which hay is going to be fed to low-producing cows, and sometimes a mix of both. This right here is my lower quality alfalfa hay. It will have a little bit more undigestible fiber, versus the other alfalfa hay right here is going to have a lot more leaf, higher level of protein, higher level of digestible fiber. But for some cows that may pass through them too fast, and for this, some cows this may pass through them too slow. And so we're always with the nutritionist working to get the right blend of all of these ingredients so that the food is passing through the cows not too fast, not too slow, and the cows are maximizing what they can do with what we are feeding them. This right here is almond hulls. It's a fiber source for the cows. California is the largest place in the world where we grow almonds, the nut. And if you see it right here, there's an almond, there's another almond. So there's some almonds still stuck in this load. But an almond, typically, an almond is going to grow in a shell, and then that shell is going to be in a hull, and it's going to be hanging from a tree. And so they will harvest all the hull and shell and almonds from the tree. They'll split open the hulls, they'll split open the shells, and then you have your almonds that are left. But the main reason why I'm feeding this is this hull is a fiber source for the cows. And once again, this is a great example of how there's probably 100,000 truckloads a year of this product produced in California. But the only portion that's edible is the nuts, not the hulls. But cows can turn around and eat these hulls, and they can turn around and upcycle the hulls and create a human food in our dairy products. So this is our recycled bakery product. As I mentioned earlier, we collect from 13 bakeries, bread factories, tortilla places, And sometimes it will be some leftover tortillas that you see right here. Sometimes we're picking up some loaves of bread that may be close to expiration date. Sometimes we're picking up the messy stuff. This was probably some chocolate cake or raspberry cake or something that didn't quite make the mix. We got some more raspberry cake right there. We get big old loaves of baguettes of bread, and all of this stuff, this is discarded product, and it ends up in the landfill. We can feed it to the cows, and the cows can upcycle it, and what was once a human food that was discarded, cows can turn around and convert it back into a human food when they produce our dairy products. This is alfalfa that we grow ourselves here in this valley, and when we bale it, we don't let it dry completely. We process it in a different way. We'll actually bale this when it's a little bit wet still, and we'll bale it into a round bale that's pressed real tight so that no air can get in. And then we wrap this whole bale with white plastic so that this hay can ferment without oxygen, or it can anaerobically ferment. And that makes kind of like a pickled hay. By feeding this fermented hay into the cow, you stimulate some of the other microbugs that are in her gut that help break down that food. When I feed this ingredient, the butterfat level of the milk that she's producing goes up just a little bit more than when I don't have this ingredient in. Speaking about butterfat, we're members of a co-op, and the co-op is comprised of 400 California dairymen. We're all from California, and between us 400 dairymen, we are moving about 1,000 truckloads of milk up and down the state every day. And we process about 50%, half of our members' milk, we process ourselves in our processing plants. We have the Challenge butter label and the Danish butter label. So if you purchased any Challenge butter products, any Danish butter products, those would have come from our members' dairy farms here in California. We also co-pack for the Kirkland brand at Costco. We co-pack for Trader Joe's. In addition to making butter, we also make a lot of milk powder. That milk powder is marketed into 57 countries around the world. Our primary customer for our milk powders is Nestle's for infant formulas. So it's a pharmaceutical grade milk powder for infant formulas. In addition to that, the other 50% of our members' milk we will sell to other processors. So our milk might end up at a Kraft cheese plant, a Cacique cheese plant. It might even end up at a Dreyer's or a Breyer's ice cream plant. So I want to thank everybody for coming by today to visit our dairy and see a little bit about what we're all about. For you in the classroom, for you to understand my background, I went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo and I got myself a degree in dairy science with an emphasis in dairy husbandry. There's other fields in animal agriculture, and in particular in the dairy world. You could study dairy products technology and get a degree on how to make cheese or butter or ice cream. I have a daughter that is currently at the University of Wisconsin at Madison, and she is studying ag business and dairy science with an emphasis on genetics and nutrition. And she has an internship with an international genetic company. So, you know, even though we're in agriculture and sometimes people don't think that there is ways of where is the classroom connection to agriculture, obviously you can see that agriculture is important in all of our lives. And yes, this is a business that goes 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. And for it to run smoothly, you really need to have a good grasp of the science and the health behind all of it. And that's why a good education is important. And so with that, I thank you for watching. It's getting a little bit warmer. I'm going to put on my hat and I'm going to go back to work. Everybody have a great day.